The alarm bells rang across the bridge of the human battleship Indomitable. Admiral Hyojin looked up from her morning coffee as the sound filled the command center. She had been reading reports about grain shipments to the outer colonies. Now something much more important was happening. "What is it?" she asked Lieutenant Yun-Su, who was working at the communications station. "We're getting a signal, Admiral," Yun-Su said. Her face looked worried. "It's not from any human ship or station. The language is completely unknown." Hyojin stood up and walked over to the communications station. She could hear strange sounds coming from the speakers. They sounded like music, but sad music. Very sad music, like someone was crying through song. "Can you clean it up?" Hyojin asked. Yun-Su worked on her controls for several minutes. The sounds became clearer. Now they could hear what sounded like words, but in no language any human had ever heard before. "Computer, begin translation protocol," Hyojin ordered. The ship's computer began working on the signal. After a few minutes, words appeared on the screen. The translation was rough, but they could understand it. "Help us. Shadow devourers come. We die extinction. Please help." The message repeated over and over. Each time it sounded more desperate, more afraid. Captain Dongwu entered the bridge. He commanded one of the destroyer ships in their fleet. He had come over in a shuttle to discuss supply problems with the Admiral. "What's all the noise about?" he asked. "Aliens," Hyojin said simply. "They're asking for help." Dongwu looked surprised. "Aliens? Real aliens? Are you sure it's not some kind of trick?" "Listen for yourself," Hyojin said. They played the message again. This time the computer translation was better. They could hear the fear in the alien voices. Someone was in serious trouble. "Where is it coming from?" Hyojin asked. "The Narration system," Yun-Su replied. "About 12 light-years from here. It's an unexplored system with a gas giant and several moons." Dongwu shook his head. "Admiral, we don't know anything about these creatures. They could be dangerous. They could be lying. This could be a trap." Hyojin understood his concern. Humanity had only been traveling between stars for 50 years. They had built colonies on dozens of worlds, but they had never met any other intelligent life. Many humans wondered what would happen when they finally did. "Look at our fleet composition," Hyojin said. 12 ships, 3 battleships, 4 cruisers, 3 destroyers, and 2 carriers. We're not some helpless merchant convoy. But we don't know what we're flying into, Dongwu argued. Dr. Kyung-ho, the fleet's science officer, spoke up from his station. "Admiral, I've been analyzing the signal. The mathematical patterns suggest these beings are highly advanced, but the emotional content suggests they're genuinely terrified." Hyojin thought about it. Her fleet was on patrol duty in this sector. They were supposed to check on the outer colonies and look for pirates or other threats. Finding aliens was not on their mission list, but the message kept playing. The alien voices sounded so afraid. "So hopeless, sir," said Commander Jae-hyun from the tactical station. "I'm picking up massive energy readings from the direction of that signal. Something big is happening over there." Hyojin made her decision. All ships set course for the Narration system. "Maximum speed." "Admiral," Dongwu said, "are you sure about this? We have no idea what we're getting into." "Captain," Hyojin replied, "we answer all distress calls. That's what separates us from the empty space around us. It's what makes us human." Dongwu nodded. He understood. In the dangerous frontier of space, people helped each other. It was the only way to survive. The 12 ships of the human fleet changed course. Their powerful engines pushed them toward the unknown system at faster than light speed. Behind them, the colonies they were supposed to patrol continued their daily business. Nobody there knew that humanity was about to make first contact with alien life. On the bridge of the Indomitable, the crew prepared for whatever they might find. Weapons were checked, shields were tested, medical teams got ready in case there were casualties. "How long until we reached the Narration system?" Hyojin asked. 6 hours at maximum speed, replied the navigation officer. 6 hours to reach beings they had never met before. 6 hours to discover what shadow devourers meant. 6 hours to find out if humanity was ready to take its place among the stars. Dr. Kyung-ho continued studying the alien signal. "Admiral, I think I'm starting to understand their language better. They call themselves the Villani. They're describing some kind of attack by creatures they call the Kethmori. What do we know about these Kethmori?" Hyojin asked. "From what I can translate, they seem to be some kind of ancient enemy. The Villani are saying the Kethmori destroy entire worlds. They've done it many times before." Captain Dongwu looked worried. And we're flying straight into a battle zone with 12 ships? 12 ships, Heejin repeated. 12 human ships. That should be enough. Her confidence surprised Dongwu. Enough for what? We don't even know what we're fighting. We're fighting for people who asked for help, Heejin said. That's all we need to know. The human fleet raced through space toward their first contact with alien life. None of them knew that they were about to become legends. None of them knew that the peaceful Villani were about to learn what the word Deathworlder really meant. In the Narration system, the Villani research station continued sending its desperate message into space. The crystal-like beings who lived there had never experienced war. They had never known violence. They were scientists and artists and philosophers. Soon they would meet humans. The shadow was coming for them. But something else was coming too. Something that had learned. To fight shadows on a world where everything tried to kill. You from the moment you were born. The Villani had asked for help. They were about to get more help than they could possibly imagine. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Narration system. Immediately, their sensors began picking up signals from the gas giant and its moons. Contact, announced Lieutenant Yunsu from her communication station. I'm receiving the distress signal much stronger now. And Admiral, there are artificial structures around the fourth moon. Admiral Hyojin studied the tactical display. The system looked peaceful enough. A large gas giant with several moons, some asteroid fields, and a distant star. But something was very wrong here. What kind of structures? She asked. Looks like research stations, replied Commander Jae-hyun from Tactical. Very advanced design. Definitely not human technology. Dr. Kyung-ho was busy at his science station, running scans of the alien structures. Admiral, I'm detecting life signs. The beings inside appear to be carbon-based, but their biology is completely different from ours. How different? Heejin asked. They seem to be crystalline in nature, silicon-based nervous systems, very tall and thin. And Admiral, they're terrified. Their stress indicators are off the charts. Captain Dongwu's voice came over the communication system from his destroyer. Admiral, should we approach the station? Slowly, Heejin replied. Dr. Kyung-ho, can you establish communication? Working on it now, the doctor said. His fingers moved quickly over his controls. I think I can use our translation matrix to convert their harmonic language into something we can understand. For several minutes, the bridge was quiet except for the sounds of computers working. Then Dr. Kyung-ho looked up with excitement. I have it, Admiral. I can communicate with them. Open a channel, Heejin ordered. The main screen activated, showing the interior of the alien research station. The humans got their first look at the Villani, and it was unlike anything they had expected. The aliens were tall, about 8 feet high, and their bodies seemed to be made of living crystal. They moved gracefully like dancers, and they glowed with soft blue light. They were beautiful in a way that took the humans' breath away, but they were also clearly terrified. One of the Villani stepped forward. When it spoke, the translation came through as a pleasant, musical voice. Unknown vessels, please identify yourselves. Are you here to help us, or are you with the Shadow Devourers? Heejin stepped forward. I am Admiral Hyojin of the Terran Defense Force. We received your distress call and came to help. What are these Shadow Devourers? The alien seemed to pause as if it couldn't believe what it was hearing. Terran? You are from the third planet of the Sol system? The Death World? Now it was Heejin's turn to be surprised. You know about Earth? We know of many worlds, the Villani replied. But yours is special. It is listed in our databases as unsuitable for intelligent life. Too violent, too dangerous. How did your species survive there? Captain Bo-ram's voice came over the fleet communication system from her cruiser. Admiral, I'm detecting massive energy signatures approaching the system. Something big is coming. Dr. Kyung-ho looked at his sensors. Admiral, whatever is approaching has a fleet of hundreds of ships. They're still several hours away, but they're heading straight for us. The Villani on the screen seemed to grow even more afraid. The Kethmori, it said. The Shadow Devourers have found us again. Tell us about them, Heejin said. The alien's crystalline body flickered with different colors as it spoke. They are ancient, older than our civilization, older than most civilizations. They travel through space in living ships, consuming everything they find. They have destroyed 17 different species across the galaxy. What do they want? Asked Dr. Kyung-ho. Everything, the Villani replied. They consume life force itself. Entire planets become empty when they are finished. No life remains, not even bacteria. Lieutenant Yunsu looked up from her station. Admiral, I'm getting more details on the approaching fleet. The ships appear to be biological in nature. They're unlike anything in our databases. Hyejin nodded. She turned back to the alien on the screen. How many ships do they have? Our sensors count over 400 vessels, the Villani said. Each one is larger than your biggest ship. Admiral Hyejin, you must leave now. Take your small fleet and run. The Kethmori cannot be fought. They cannot be reasoned with. They can only be avoided. How do you normally deal with them? Hyejin asked. We hide, the alien said simply. We evacuate our worlds and hide in deep space until they move on. But this time they found our research station before we could escape. Captain Dongwu's voice came over the communication again. Admiral, the alien is right. We have 12 ships. They have 400. The math doesn't work in our favor. But Hyejin was studying the tactical display with interest. Dr. Kyung-ho, what can you tell me about Kethmori weapons and defenses? From what the Villani are telling us, they use some kind of psychic attack first. They project fear and despair at their enemies. Most species become paralyzed with terror and can't fight back. And then they use energy weapons to disable ships and technology. After that, they board the vessels and consume the life force of everyone inside. Engineer Wu Jin spoke up from his station. Admiral, our ships are designed to fight in the asteroid fields around Earth. Our weapons are built to crack open space rocks that are harder than most ship armor. Hyejin smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. And our crews? Humans who grew up on Earth, Wu Jin replied. We've been fighting for survival since the day we were born. The Villani on the screen seemed confused. Admiral Hyejin, I do not understand. Are you not afraid? Of course we're afraid, Hyejin replied. Fear keeps you alive, but we're also curious. We've never fought space monsters before. It should be interesting. The alien's crystalline body flickered rapidly, showing colors that Dr. Kyung-ho's translation system couldn't interpret. You cannot be serious, the Villani said. These creatures have destroyed civilizations that lasted for millions of years. They have weapons that can tear apart planets. So do we, Hyejin said calmly. The difference is we built ours specifically for that purpose. Captain Taeho's voice joined the conversation from his battleship. Admiral, my tactical analysis suggests we can take them. Our weapons are designed for close-range fighting. If we can get in close, their size advantage works against them. The Villani looked from one human to another on their various ship screens. You are all insane. This is why your world is classified as a death world. You do not run from danger. You run toward it, usually, Hyejin agreed. Dr. Kyung-ho, how long until the Kethmori arrive? 3 hours and 42 minutes. Perfect. That gives us time to prepare. She turned back to the Villani. What's your name? I am Researcher Veltar. Well, Researcher Veltar, you're about to see why Earth is called a death world, and why that's a good thing. Researcher Veltar uploaded the Villani historical databases to the human fleet. Dr. Kyung-ho spent the next hour reading through thousands of years of galactic history. What he found made him call Admiral Hyejin to his station. Admiral, you need to see this, he said quietly. Hyejin walked over and looked at the data on his screen. The record showed planet after planet, system after system, all marked with the same notation. Consumed by Kethmori, no survivors. 17 civilizations, Dr. Kyung-ho said. Some of them lasted for millions of years. The Kethmori destroyed them all. What about military resistance? Hyejin asked. That's the problem. Most of these species were peaceful. They had no real military. The ones that did have armies were still no match for the Kethmori. Why not? Dr. Kyung-ho pulled up another file. Because of the psychic attacks. The Kethmori don't just use weapons. They project pure terror at their enemies. Most beings become so afraid they can't think straight. They can't fight. They just freeze up and wait to die. Admiral Hyejin studied the records. She could see battle reports from different species, all describing the same thing. Ships that stopped working when the Kethmori appeared. Crews that became paralyzed with fear. Entire fleets that surrendered without firing a shot. Commander Jae-hyun joined them at the science station. Admiral, I've been running tactical simulations based on this data. The Kethmori strategy is always the same. They approach a target, project fear to disable the defenders, then move in to consume everything. Has anyone ever successfully resisted the fear attacks? Hyejin asked. No, Dr. Kyung-ho replied. According to these records, no species has ever been immune to Keth Mori psychic manipulation. From across the bridge, Lieutenant Yunsu called out, Admiral, we're receiving another transmission from the Villani research station. Put it on screen. Researcher Veltar appeared again, but this time several other Villani were with him. They all looked extremely worried. Admiral Hai-Jin, Veltar said, we have been studying your species' history through your computer databases. We need to understand something. Your planet Earth, is it really as dangerous as our records suggest? What do your records say? Hai-Jin asked. They say that Earth has massive storms that can destroy cities, earthquakes that split the ground open, volcanoes that block out the sun, poisonous creatures everywhere, predators that hunt in packs, diseases that kill millions. How did your species survive such a world? Dr. So-young, the fleet psychologist, stepped forward. We didn't just survive it. We mastered it. Every human you see here grew up fighting for survival every day. Fighting what? Asked another Villani. Everything, So-young replied. Our weather, our animals, our diseases, our environment, and each other. Earth doesn't let you live unless you're strong enough to take life from it. The Villani looked confused. You fought each other? Your own species? For thousands of years, Yijin said. We fought over food, territory, resources, ideas. We built weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We've been preparing for war since we first picked up rocks and threw them at each other. Engineer Wu Jin joined the conversation. These ships we're flying, they're not exploration vessels. They're weapons. Every human ship is built to fight and destroy other ships. But why? Veltar asked. Why build instruments of destruction? Because the universe is dangerous, Captain Dongwu said, his voice coming over the communication system. And the only way to protect what you love is to be more dangerous than anything that threatens it. Dr. Kyung-ho was working at his station again. Admiral, I'm detecting the Keth Mori fleet. They're 2 hours away now. And Admiral, they're already starting their psychic attacks. What do you mean? Hai-Jin asked. I'm reading massive psionic energy being directed at the Villani station. They're trying to paralyze the researchers with fear. On the screen, they could see the Villani beginning to shake. Their crystalline bodies flickered with dark colors. It's starting, Veltar said, his voice shaking. The fear, it's so strong. We can barely think. Are you picking up any of these psychic attacks? Hai-Jin asked Dr. Kyung-ho. The sensors detect the energy, but... He paused and looked puzzled. Admiral, I don't feel anything. Do you? Hai-Jin thought about it. Nothing. I feel normal, Commander Jae-hyun spoke up. Same here. If they're attacking us psychically, it's not working. Lieutenant Commander Minho's voice came over the communication from his weapons station on the battleship Daigu's Hammer. Admiral, my crew reports feeling slightly annoyed, but that might just be because we haven't had lunch yet. Dr. So-young looked fascinated. This is incredible. The Keth Mori psychic attacks are designed to trigger the basic fear response that all intelligent life shares. But humans, what about humans? Hai-Jin asked. Humans evolved on a world where everything was trying to kill us. Our fear response is different. We don't freeze when we're afraid. We get angry. We fight back. Captain Boram's voice joined the conversation from her cruiser. Admiral, I'm actually starting to feel something from their psychic attacks. What are you feeling? Hai-Jin asked with concern. Amused, Boram replied. They're trying to make me afraid of death and pain. But I grew up in the Seoul underground fighting gangs. This feels like a tickle. Engineer Wu Jin was laughing at his station. Admiral, I think I understand what's happening. The Keth Mori are trying to show us our worst fears. But our worst fears are things like running out of coffee or missing our favorite TV shows. On the screen, the Villani were watching this conversation with amazement. You are not afraid? Veltar asked. The Keth Mori are projecting images of death and destruction directly into your minds, and you are laughing. Veltar, Hai-Jin said gently. We come from a world where death and destruction are Tuesday morning. We've been dealing with things trying to kill us since we were children. A few space monsters aren't going to scare us, but they have destroyed 17 civilizations. 17 civilizations that never had to fight for their lives every single day, Commander Jae-hyun pointed out. 17 civilizations that didn't grow up on a death world. Captain Taeho's voice came over the communication system. Admiral, the enemy fleet is 1 hour out. My weapons teams are ready for battle. They're actually excited about this. Excited? Veltar asked. Humans get excited about new challenges, Dr. So-young explained. We've never fought space monsters before. This is interesting for us, the Villani. Researcher's crystalline body flickered through. Several colors that the translation system couldn't identify. Your species is insane, he finally said. Probably, Admiral Hyojin agreed. But we're insane in a useful way. The Kethamori fleet appeared at the edge of the Narration system, like a nightmare made real. Their bioships were massive organic creatures that looked more like sea monsters than spacecraft. They moved through space with a flowing motion that hurt to watch. Visual contact, announced Lieutenant Yunsu, putting it on the main screen now. The bridge crew of the Indomitable got their first look at humanity's enemy. The Kethamori ships were dark purple and black, with tentacles that writhed around their hulls. They pulsed with sickly light and strange sounds echoed from them across space. How many ships? Admiral Hyojin asked. 437, Commander Jae-hyun replied from Tactical. Each one is roughly 3 times the size of our largest battleship. Dr. Kyung-ho looked up from his science station. Admiral, I'm reading massive psychic energy from the enemy fleet. They're increasing their mental attacks on the entire system. On the communications screen, the Villani research station was in chaos. Researcher Veltar and his team were cowering behind their equipment, shaking with terror. The fear, Veltar managed to say. It's overwhelming. We cannot think. We cannot move. This is how it always happens. But on the human ships, the reaction was completely different. Anyone else feeling that? Asked Captain Dongwoo from his destroyer. Yeah, replied Captain Boram from her cruiser. It's like someone is trying to show me a scary movie. Except the movie isn't very good. Lieutenant Commander Minho's voice came over the fleet communication system. Admiral, my weapons crew says the aliens are projecting images of cosmic horror and existential dread. Johnson says it reminds him of his ex-wife. Laughter echoed across the communication channels. The Kethamori were trying their most powerful fear attacks, and the humans were making jokes about it. Engineer Wu Jin looked up from his station. Admiral, I think we're actually making them confused. Our ship's sensors are detecting increased agitation from the enemy fleet. What do you mean? He-jin asked. I think they don't understand why their fear attacks aren't working. They're trying harder, but it's just making us more amused. Captain Taeho's voice joined the conversation from his battleship. Admiral, my tactical officer says the enemy ships are hesitating. They're not advancing like they normally do. Dr. Kyung-ho was studying his sensors carefully. Admiral, I think Captain Taeho is right. According to the Villani historical records, the Kethamori usually charge straight at their targets after the fear attacks paralyze them. But they're just sitting there. They don't know what to do with us, He-jin realized. They've never encountered a species that didn't fall apart when they projected fear at them. The enemy fleet continued to hover at the edge of the system, their bioships pulsing with frustrated energy. Strange sounds echoed from them across space, sounds that might have been screams or roars. Admiral, said Commander Jae-hyun, I think they're trying to communicate with us. Put it through the translation matrix, He-jin ordered. A voice came through the speakers. It was deep and hollow, like an echo from the bottom of a cave. Unknown vessels, you will submit to consumption. You will experience fear and despair. You will join the void. He-jin activated the fleet-wide communication system. This is Admiral Hyojin of the Terran Defense Force. We received a distress call from beings under attack. We're here to help them. There is no help, the Kethamori voice replied. There is only consumption. We have devoured 17 civilizations. We have consumed worlds. You will submit. No, Hyojin said simply. Silence followed. The alien voice seemed surprised. You refuse. You feel our power. You know despair. You know fear. Why do you not submit? Captain Dongwoo's voice came over the fleet communication. Admiral, should I answer that? Go ahead, He-jin replied. Hey, space monsters, Dongwoo called out cheerfully. We're from Earth. We wrestle bears for fun. You're going to have to try harder than some bad dreams. More laughter echoed across the communication channels. The Kethamori fleet seemed to pulse with increased agitation. Impossible, the alien voice said. All beings know fear. All beings submit to the void. Not all beings, Dr. So-young said over the communication system. Some beings evolve on death worlds. Some beings grow up fighting for survival every day. Some beings learn that the only thing to fear is running out of enemies to fight. Chief Gunner Changmin's voice joined from the destroyer Soul's Pride. Admiral, my weapons are ready. Permission to show them what a death world produces. He-jin looked at the tactical display. The Kethmori fleet was massive, but they were clustered together in a standard formation. They clearly expected their enemies to be paralyzed with fear, not maneuvering for battle. All ships, Hyejin announced. Battle stations. Let's show them why Earth is classified as unsuitable for intelligent life. The 12 human ships moved into attack formation. Their weapons powered up and their shields activated. On Earth, these vessels were considered average patrol ships. In the galaxy, they were about to become legendary. The humans are advancing, researcher Veltar said from the research station. His voice was filled with disbelief. 12 ships against 437. They are flying directly toward the Kethmori fleet. Of course we are, Captain Jiwoo said from her frigate. That's where the enemies are. The Kethmori tried one more massive psychic attack. They projected pure terror across the entire system. The accumulated fear and despair of 17 dead civilizations. The human response was immediate. Is that it? Asked weapons specialist Subin. I was expecting something scary. My grandmother's ghost stories were more frightening than this, added Commander Yu Jin. Admiral, Captain Hyunwoo called from his carrier. Permission to launch fighters? Permission granted, Hyejin replied. All ships weapons free. Show them what happens when you pick a fight with Deathworlders. The Kethmori had spent thousands of years terrorizing peaceful civilizations. They had consumed worlds full of beings who had never known violence. Now they were about to meet humans. And humans had been perfecting violence for their entire evolutionary history. The battle was about to begin. The first shots of the battle lit up the Narration system like fireworks. The human fleet charged directly into the center of the Kethmori formation, their weapons blazing with the light of miniature stars. All weapons, fire at will, Admiral Hyejin commanded. The destroyer Soul's Pride opened fire first. Chief Gunner Chang Min had targeted one of the smaller Kethmori bioships with the ship's main plasma cannon. The weapon was designed to punch through the armor of Earth's toughest space pirates. Against alien bio-armor, it worked even better. The plasma bolt hit the enemy ship and cut completely through it. The bioship split in half, its organic hull dissolving into glowing gas. Direct hit, Chang Min reported. Target destroyed. These things aren't as tough as they look. But the Kethmori weren't helpless. They began firing back with energy weapons that crackled through space like purple lightning. The first shots hit the cruiser Busan Thunder, lighting up its shields. Shields holding, Captain Boram reported. Their weapons are powerful, but not more powerful than what we face from our own pirates. The battle quickly turned into chaos. The Kethmori had numbers, but the humans had something the aliens had never encountered before. Tactical flexibility. Captain Jiwoo of the frigate Olsen's Edge demonstrated this perfectly. When 3 enemy bioships surrounded her vessel, she did something no peaceful species would ever consider. All crew, prepare for emergency evacuation, she announced. I'm going to use our ship as a weapon. Captain, what are you doing? Admiral Hyejin asked over the communication system. Something stupid, Jiwoo replied cheerfully, but it should work. She aimed her ship directly at the largest enemy vessel and pushed the engines to maximum power. At the last second, she triggered the ship's emergency teleportation system, sending her entire crew to the carrier Gwangju's Fury. The unmanned frigate slammed into the Kethmori bioship at near light speed. The impact triggered the ship's antimatter power core, creating an explosion that destroyed not just the target, but 2 other enemy ships nearby. Frigate Ulsan's Edge destroyed, Lieutenant Yunsu reported, but Captain Jiwoo and her crew are safe aboard the carrier. 3 enemy ships eliminated, Commander Jaehyun added. The captain's sacrifice took out a significant portion of their formation. From the research station, researcher Veltar watched the battle with amazement and horror. They used their own ship as a weapon. They destroyed themselves to harm the enemy. Not destroyed, Dr. Kyung-ho corrected. Sacrificed. There's a difference. The crew is safe. The Kethmori were learning that fighting humans was unlike anything they had experienced before. These weren't peaceful researchers or philosophers. These were predators who had evolved to hunt other predators. Lieutenant Commander Min-ho demonstrated this from his position aboard the battleship Daegu's Hammer. When a group of Kethmori ships tried to surround his vessel, he began switching between different weapon systems every few seconds. First, he fired plasma cannons, then missile launchers, then particle beams, then railguns. Each weapon required different defensive responses, but he was changing so fast that the enemy bioships couldn't adapt. Their adaptive defenses are confused, he reported. They keep trying to adjust to counter my weapons, but I switch before they can complete the process. Weapons specialist Subin took this idea even further. She began firing completely random weapons combinations at the enemy fleet, plasma mixed with missiles, railguns followed by particle beams, energy weapons combined with physical projectiles. The enemy ships are trying to adapt to my attacks, she reported, but there's no pattern for them to follow. They're literally tearing themselves apart trying to configure defenses against random chaos. Engineer Wu Jin made another discovery about their enemies. Admiral, the Kethamori bioships are connected to some kind of hive mind. When we damage one ship, the others learn from it and adapt their defenses. How do we counter that? He Jin asked. We don't let them learn, Wu Jin replied. We destroy them too fast for the hive mind to process the information. Captain Tejo put this strategy into action immediately. His battleship Dagu's hammer focused all its firepower on single targets, destroying each Kethamori ship in seconds before moving to the next one. Target acquired, target destroyed, he reported, moving to next target. They don't have time to share defensive information if they're dead. The battle raged for 2 hours. The human fleet danced through space like sharks in bloody water, their weapons cutting through the alien formation with deadly precision. But the Kethamori had one more trick to try. They began boarding actions, sending creatures that looked like living shadows onto the human ships. Commander Yu Jin was ready for them. When the shadow creatures materialized on the bridge of her cruiser, she and her crew were waiting with weapons drawn. Contact, she reported calmly. Enemy boarders on deck 7. They appear to be some kind of energy beings. The shadow creatures tried their psychic attacks on the human crew. They projected images of death and despair directly into the humans' minds. The crew's response was immediate and violent. That's it? Asked Sergeant Han Sol, the ship's security chief. My drill instructor was scarier than this. The humans opened fire with weapons designed to fight in the cramped corridors of space stations. The shadow creatures had never encountered beings who fought back against psychic attacks with physical violence. Boarders eliminated, Yu Jin reported. They seemed surprised that we didn't just stand there and let them consume us. Similar boarding actions were happening across the human fleet. On every ship, the crew reacted the same way, with immediate, overwhelming violence boarding. Party eliminated on the Soul's Pride, Captain Dongwu reported. Shadow creatures destroyed. On the Busan Thunder, Captain Boram added. Alien boarders neutralized on the Gwangju's. Fury, Captain Hyunwoo confirmed. The Kethamori hive mind was receiving information it had never processed before. Species that fought back. Beings who were immune to fear. Creatures who used their own ships as weapons and treated deadly combat as entertainment. Dr. Kyung-ho was monitoring the enemy fleet's communications. Admiral, I'm detecting massive confusion in their hive mind communications. I think they're trying to figure out what we are. Any luck translating their internal discussions? Heejin asked. Some of it. They keep using a word that translates roughly as impossible. They're calling us the impossible species. From the research station, researcher Veltar continued to watch the battle with disbelief. In 3,000 years, no one has ever successfully resisted the Kethamori. Your 12 ships have destroyed over 100 of their vessels. We're just getting started, Admiral Haijin replied. The human fleet continued its deadly dance through space. They had proven that the Kethamori could be fought. Now they were going to prove that the Kethamori could be beaten. The Shadow Devourers were about to learn what it meant to pick a fight with Earth's children, and the lesson was going to be written in fire across the stars.